Welcome back to ESA Summer 21. We are raising money for Save the Children. Links to donate can be found below the stream. We'd also like to thank Twitch and ViewSonic for sponsoring this event. Before we hand over, we've got two donations to read out. The first one is a $25 donation from Fireman, who says, John Madden, football, AEIOU, let's go text-to-speech, here comes another earthquake. That one's going to the text-to-speech communication incentive. And we also have a $25 donation from Critical Android, who says, Hey Tinnue, thanks for bringing your vampire killing skills to the marathon. Maybe next time you can play an even better Castlevania game, the one and only Castlevania Judgment. No, but seriously, thanks for all you do, and to everyone at ESA for putting on this wonderful event. And thus, without further ado, I'd love to hand it over to Tinnue, who's going to run Super Castlevania 4 for us. Take it away.
Alright, thank you, Hertz. So yeah, hi everybody, I'm Tin. I'm going to be running Super Castlevania 4 today. And I can assure you, it's indeed a super game. Also super, and also with me today is another CB4 runner, an amazing dungeon master. It is DNDnet21. He's going to help me with commentary, so this little thing, also known as Tin Brain, can focus a bit better on the run. So hi Ned, hope you're doing good. Thanks for joining me in this one.
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Tin, for inviting me to commentate on this. Yes, Super Castlevania 4 is indeed a very, very fun run and requires a little bit of concentration. So I'm more than happy to be able to describe some of the tips and tricks that are going to be going through this game, because there's a lot to cover. So good luck on the run, and hype and chat to everybody. Let's go ahead and let's get this on.
Right, yeah. If you could give me a countdown from 5 to go.
Sounds good.
Maybe.
So I'll go begin the countdown now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
Alright, let's go.
Alrighty, so Super Castlevania 4, which was released in 1991 by Konami, is an adventure platforming game with about 11 stages that you progress through as you try to make your way to Dracula, defeating his many monsters that have been put in the way of Simon Belmont to stop him. We're going to see how this goes. They don't do a very, very good job at stopping him, as you're going to see. Tinnue is going to make short work of the bosses using the crosses. The main point of this game is to use Simon's whip to clear out the enemies in front, using also the sub-weapons that you can collect through the many levels. The cross, though, is the one that we focus on, as crosses kill bosses. By overlapping 3 crosses, once you collect, the necessary combo up to 3, once they start overlapping, the damage really starts to stack up. What you're also going to notice is Tin is going to be using a lot of damage boosting and uses of the iframes, the invincibility frames that come after, in order to move as fast as possible through the stage, because Simon actually moves faster just after he gets hit. So it's a little bit faster than the power march that he likes to use while moving through stage 1. So the stage 1 is the stables, just outside of Dracula's castle, as you're going to see Simon move through the steps, jumping through, falling through. Stairs are going to be our enemy. And at the very end of this level is Rodane, the undead mounted knight. He is on the back of an undead horse that essentially is like a 2-part boss. But in the first casual run, he's a little bit of a challenge. We're going to make short work of him. So, this stage is very much optimized already. You're going to notice that the jumps and impacts that she takes are very purposeful. We're going to be jumping over the horse heads here, taking care of them with some properly timed crosses as she moves into the next part of stage 1 that involve the Medusa heads, the flying Medusa heads, which are obstacles that fly throughout the entirety of the screen. But with some properly timed tricks, we're going to see if we can gain some time by using these Medusa heads to jump us a little forward instead of backwards. Using the crosses to clear out the candles, as there is a small little issue sometimes with this game, where if you hit a candle at the same time, you will clip the enemy and not impact it. So we do our best to time our cross throws and our whips so that we don't accidentally not hit the enemy and they hit us. Here's the start of the fight. Let's see what's going on with Rodane.
Jumping.
Fantastic first phase, but Rodane has a tendency to jump when he is in a little bit of an excited mood. But Tinnue make a very good job of adapting to that and throwing the crosses as necessary to get him when he hits the ground and catching the orb. That is stage 1. Nicely done.
Nice pizza slice, too. It's always making me hungry.
Indeed, the swag trick at the very end of it all. is to try to get those 3 crosses as symmetrical as possible. It gets a little difficult. I mean, let's focus on killing the enemies, but we can't beat a good pizza slice at the end of a level every now and again. So stage 2 is the swamps. Those purple hands are RNG. They want to grab you and slow you down. It requires a bunch of manual inputs afterwards to try to break free, but we're going to use those spiders to boost as far forward as possible with these. Skip on through them and deal with the natural critters that are going to be more of a problem than the actual undead minions that are being sent to defeat Simon. The birds, once they get out of hand, after the first couple of seconds, they're hard to wrangle in, and what we're going to be doing in the next part of this stage is essentially timing crosses to hit them as soon as they appear on screen so that they don't get too crazy out of hand. Actually, in this time, before we face the boss at the middle of this stage, known as Medusa, blink and you'll miss her, by the way, we're going to have some time actually for some donations, as the next part of this stage is essentially some damage boosts, as she's going to take care of the boss that's in the middle of the stage rather than the end.
Yeah, thank you very much. So Darkstar has a $10 donation and says, enjoying a PB&J sandwich on the couch while watching one of my favourite speedrunners, Tinnue, play Castlevania. No better way to spend a Sunday afternoon. And of course, that one is going to the PB&J sandwich race that we have. And also, Puexil, $20, says, good luck, Tinnue. Take down that vampire, and if you can, go easy on my namesake in stage 4.
I'll try.
Yeah, Puexil is actually, as he had mentioned, is a boss name for stage 4 that appears in the beginning. This the first phase, actually, of the stage. And the name Puexil is actually licks you up backwards, as he is indeed an enemy with a tongue. That was Medusa, for anybody who blinked for a brief moment. Some properly timed crosses took care of her, and now we're moving into the river stage, which is essentially a bunch of boosts moving downstream. If there's any more donations, we have some time for that.
No more donations at the moment, but just a reminder of the bid wars that we have coming up for the Hackathon marathon later on. The Star Wars bid war for Team Carla or Team Juanita is still at $40 to $31. Our text-to-speech incentive is almost halfway there at $235.99 out of the $500 needed, and the PB&J sandwich race is now at $120 out of the $500 needed to make our runners race, making and eating a PB&J sandwich.
Fantastic. Let's get to those incentives, everybody. Let's go ahead and raise that money for the children. We're moving now into stage 3. Now, stage 3 is very much about health management. There's a lot that can be changing in this stage, depending on where the bats spawn and where the infamous Mudmen, as you can see here, spawn. Good Mudmen directions can help with you, but sometimes, as you notice just there, they like to shuffle around and change their direction. What Tinnue is going to try to do is hit the Mudmen in the last final frame just before she makes contact with them in order to break them apart. When they split, there is a moment of iframes that the actual creature feels, essentially, where we could pass right through them without taking any damage. Here we're going to notice 2 more Mudmen. Hopefully we get an okay pattern. Nicely handled. It wasn't the nicest pattern, but fortunately you were able to split them and get the good side of the Mudmen. For a lot of the tech that's going to be coming up in the rest of this stage, health is very important, as it's going to determine a lot of the boosts that we can take that really do cut this level down to size, so to speak, as we're going to be having enough health here for essentially an eyeball boost and a little fuzzy boost. So pay attention to also what is going to be happening with the ring that is on this level. It's an interesting little physics game that we're going to be playing in Super Castlevania 4. So keep an eye out for this. Couple of steps.
Yeah, I gotta go for the safe backup.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is multiple ways to do this little trick here, so keep an eye out for this. Nicely done. So there are multiple ways to handle that ring. First off, when Simon is on that ring, there is no downward physics. It is a pendulum physics. So if you approach the ring from the top of the ring, essentially you will have an ability to push away from the center of the ring and use that to skip a good portion of the level. There are multiple ways to approach that, where you can actually despawn enemy hitboxes to make it a little bit more safer, which is exactly what Tinnue did there by going back and approaching from the bottom of the ring versus from the side of the level as is intended. Now we're moving through the later half of 3-3, which is essentially 3-gate, as Tinnue is going to set up for the eyeball boost, get the right timing, and get to the top of the stairs, grab the health, and put her back inside the safe zone. That cuts a good portion of time off of that level, as normally you would have to defeat the dragon that is blocking your way at the bottom of the stage. a couple of properly timed whips here, as hopefully the fishmen are not going to be too trolly, as they have some time to be. Sometimes they can be a little bit of a pain in the butt with their spawns, but so far so good. As we're moving into the latter half of this stage, where the Orphic Vipers exist, twin-headed lizard creature that is there to stop Simon's approach to the castle, but with some properly timed crosses. Yet again, using a actual visual cue, we're going to see some fantastic damage using the overlap aspect of the crosses. A nice another ring glitch there, using the background for a visual cue to be able to know when to let go so you can land on another part of the map that would be a little bit more time consuming to access. And also despawning a dragon. There's also something that we're going to talk about later called sprite overload. Doesn't take into account right now too much, but we're going to see it be very, very important later on in the game. Let's see the Orphic Vipers. The water begins to rise. Visual cue goes off, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
No stress. Orphic Vipers down, killed, orb collected. We're moving on to stage 4. Now, normally with there was a slight miss in timing there. It would be a little bit faster, but you were able to wrangle in the Orphic Vipers without them getting out of hand. Nicely done, Tinnue. Moving into stage 4. This is where Puexel is. Now, stage 4 is where we're going to see a little bit of mode 7 and where sprite overload is going to start to lag the game down heavily. You're going to notice this in the rotating tunnel later on in this stage. We're going to do our best to minimize the amount of sprites that are on screen, including death sprites, as well as whip sprites and cross sprites, things like that. You're going to notice that the game slows down sometimes, but we're going to do our best to avoid killing things instead. But here we're going to be facing Puexel, and then after Puexel, there is a very dangerous room where there's Medusa heads that are going to be flying at you. We're going to do our best to avoid them, jumping them, killing them, maybe. We're going to find out, as Tinnue uses a very secret strategy to approach these Medusa heads after timing some jumps, throwing some crosses, and taking care of Puexel. Sorry to the one who donated. We're going to have to make quick work of this.
Yeah, they actually had a lot of fun with some names for the bosses in this game.
They did, especially in stage 4. So here we're going to see the secret strategy that Tinnue is going to use to bypass these dangerous Medusa heads. And at this time, we also have some time for some donations if we have any available.
Yeah, we have a $50 anonymous donation with no comment, but thank you very much for your generous donation. Obviously, all your donations are going towards Save the Children, and Save the Children works with youth, their families, and their communities to ensure that young people's health needs are met, and you can help give children a future by donating during this event. Everything that you give really does make a huge, huge difference, so please do keep those donations coming in.
Fantastic. Please do, everybody. This is a fantastic cause. I cannot express that enough. So please, if you have it in you, send those donations forward, and please grab something. Also, some of the merch that they have. It's really awesome. I picked myself up a pair of pants myself. So if getting back to the game very quickly, as you noticed, that secret strategy was stand still and crouch. The Medusas are spawned based on Simon's location. So if you stand still and crouch, you don't have to do anything at all to deal with those Medusa heads. As we move into the Tunnel of Lag, as we all know it, with the mode 7, as a lot of sprites are going to appear. As you see, it slows down the game just there. What we're going to try and do is time all of the jumps so that we get either boosts or to jump them completely, just so that we can have the spawns be at a proper location. And also so that we don't slow the game down. What's very important to note as we move through this stage is that a little bit of a nice recovery. The skeletons change spawn location based on the time of the rotation in the room. So if you don't move through that stage at a proper pace, you're going to have random spawn locations and you can't always jump them. So we are in stage 4-4 now, just before Coronat. Name backwards, ton of rock. We're going to see Tinnue set up for the zip, which is a little bit of a wall collision. Oh, unfortunately, a bad bat.
Yeah,
Smart decision. So the bat for that stage, what would happen normally for the zip is that you would be hit by that bat, your iframes would save you as you were being crushed, and you would clip into the wall and skip a good portion of the level. Unfortunately, this requires a very specific setup, and also sometimes if the bat spawns at a different height, it doesn't work for you and you risk losing the run.
Yeah, for some pixels it still looks okay. There's also a pixel where you can get into the wall. Like you can zip into the wall, but it's a late pixel, so you would kind of like get part of the zip, but then zip out at some point, so it's not gonna work.
It's not really worth. If you don't feel that trick, don't go for it. It's one of those things where you know when you have it or you don't after you've practiced it 500,000 times. Now we have Coronat, the ton of rock, here to stop you at the end of 4 as we make short work of Coronat with some good whips, some good crosses, and see if we can get maybe an early orb if the platforms will allow. Oh, just barely.
Close.
It's very, very close. I think the game robbed you on that one.
Yeah, for the zip, the zip is one of the bigger things we have in this game. I really wanted to show it off, but like Ned said, if you don't feel it and you die, that's one of the riskiest deaths we have in this game, because you not only do you die, you also lose your cross. You get it back here, but you have to fight Coronat either with whip only or just the axe, and that's a huge time difference.
Yeah, this game is very linear. There are ways for you to adapt your approach to the game one way or another, but when you lose time or when you die, there's no way to really recover it once you start getting into the higher brackets of speedrunning this game. So stage 5 is the intermediary stage, as we are now finally at the base of Dracula's castle. All of this was just kind of the outskirts of the building, as Tinnue is going to be using a lot of the enemies here for some damage boosts, because the harpies that appear on this stage are actually RNG in their spawn timing and location, and sometimes the flea men that they drop are a little bit of a problem depending on if they're high enough for even us to hit them. So thankfully the harpies were playing nice with Simon there, and she's able to move through 5-2 as we move to 6, which is the chandelier stage, as we all know and love. It's a little bit of a tense situation. Hopefully everything goes well, and we're going to be able to see some fantastic jumps, some good boosting off of the knights up ahead, and we actually have a little bit of time for the chandeliers for some donations if you have any.
So no further donations at the moment, but I do want to let you know about some of the prizes that we have to give out for your donations. Probably our biggest one, our grand prize at the moment, is a Sony PlayStation 5 with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for a minimum donation of $50. Yes, ESA have got one of these to give away, believe it or not. We've managed to get hold of one. And don't forget that your minimum donations are accumulated over the course of the whole marathon, so you don't have to give $50 in one go. You could do it in 10 lots of $5 or 5 lots of $10. Your multiple smaller donations will still qualify you for the prize over the course of the whole marathon. So please do consider donating. Maybe do it a little bit at a time if you want to.
Thank you very much. Now here are the chandeliers. Just 1 second. And fair. So the chandeliers are a little bit of a tense moment, which is why I held my breath for a second there. There are essentially 3 patterns to go through the chandeliers, all of which are heavily dependent on the amount of time you take from entering the screen. Each one of those patterns essentially are more and more deadly. There's a 1 cycle, a 2 cycle, and a 3 cycle. The 3 cycle is very safe. The 2 cycle is a little risky and requires an audio cue where you time your jump very specifically. It's a very, very tiny window, and if you miss it, unfortunately, you're at the very beginning of the stage yet again. And also the 1 cycle, which is extremely tight, requiring very, very tight ring swings and even a little bit of floor clipping in order to be able to get it. It's very much a strat that only the upper echelon of runners do, of which, by the way, the current world record for this game is 31:18 now, very recently been updated in the past couple of weeks. So this game is very much still on fire and has much room to grow. So for anyone thinking of picking up a speedrunning game, you may want to take a look at this one. I promise you, it's fun. Now, moving through 6-2, this is a little bit of a break after the ectoplasms that we have seen, which require proper cross-timing and a little bit of belief in your whips and timing, as if you don't follow through, the hesitation can kind of ruin you, and you can pick up a wrong sub-weapon very easily or simply get knocked into a damage cycle. One thing that I would actually like to note for a good portion of this game, for the latter half, especially for some of the bosses, a very quick flash warning for anybody that has any form of visual sensitivity for bright lights and things like that. Some of the bosses you've seen before, they flash a couple of times when they die. There's one towards the end of the game, which is a little bit bad for that. So just a very quick photosensitivity warning for this game for anybody that might be sensitive to that. Now we're moving through the Bone Hallway. Has a couple of other a little bit less nice nicknames for it, but timing here is for throwing crosses and making sure that you time all your jumps so that you don't get hit by the red skeletons, which actually do 4 pips of damage instead of just 3. One other thing to note, if you have been counting the amount of times that Tinnue has to whip the enemy or throw crosses, everything has just a little bit more health now as the game has essentially gone into hard mode. Sometimes there you can get a coffin boost and boost you right on forward through the coffin rather than having to face them, but unfortunately the coffins didn't want to play nice as we're moving to the dancing tables where even the furniture wants to take out Simon, and we move to the dancers, which are essentially another boss where if you see them for even half a second, it's too long. You blink and you miss this boss. Some properly timed crosses really do get rid of this boss, but otherwise if the dancers get out of hand, we almost had some bad dancer patterns there. If the dancers get out of hand, they can indeed kind of trouble you, especially in whip only %, which is a subcategory of this game. So perfectly timed cross throws, some whips to overlap the damage, we collect the orb, and that is stage 6 as we move into stage 7. Good job so far today.
Also, maybe you want to talk a tiny bit about the new zip that is doable now.
Absolutely. So back on stage 4 when we were talking about the zip was essentially the biggest time find for a good portion of time where we were able to save almost, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 10 seconds worth of time for that level. Now recently, due to some research, mostly by, if I'm not mistaken, Richter Shade and JC at the time, and a couple of other fantastic runners, I can't name the whole list, there's a lot of us, the community's fantastic. They found another way to set up the zip, which allows for another 4 seconds of time save, and it really uses the spawning pattern of the zip. Of the stones that move through the level to Simon's advantage to enter the zip much faster, and also allowing you to go for the original plan as a backup, which is even better when you think about a way a strat should work. Now, as Simon makes the way through the library, falling through the steps, we're going to see if we get the low axe here. We do take the low axe to get an extra boost instead of waiting for the book cycles. Here we're going to deal with a very tight jump known as the book jump, which unfortunately is a frame tight window. That happens sometimes, but the spawn point is just before, so we don't lose too much time. Now, normally you would wait for those books to rotate all the way through, but there is indeed a small window as the book is stepping away from the platform. Instead of waiting for the full rotation, you can sometimes make that jump, but as you saw there, sometimes it's just a matter of reacting, and it's a scary moment to be in. So now we're going to go ahead and collect the axe as a backup sub-weapon, one of the many, including the holy water. Ooh, the holy water. That was an example of candle clipping, as I had discussed previously. Holy water, the axe, the dagger, and the cross. This is one of the very few moments that you will hopefully see any of the other sub-weapons, but we are very familiar with any backup strats that are necessary. As you can see, Tinnue making short work of the enemies, even with the cross in hand, trying to build up as much combo as possible to be able to deal damage to Sir Gracul, the knight that guards the end of the library. I'm going to go for the rosary here. The rosary, we'd seen it before, which is a flash on the screen. It is a item that you can collect from the candles that is not technically a sub-weapon. It counts for if you can actually use it in a whip-only run. It wipes all enemies off of the board off of the screen that you can see. So that's very useful because you'll see later on, specifically in stage 8, that you can sometimes abuse that depending on where exactly you collect the rosary. So that you can kind of clear out some enemies that are just on the edge of the screen, since technically they spawn just outside of what you can see in the game. Here we're going to see some statues crumbling and some jumping over them. Sometimes we can use those for boosts as well, but here we're going to try our best to make our way through. There's the 3 combo, triple axes. Gracul will be scared as he has an axe himself. He's never had an opponent face him with that many axes before. He doesn't know what to do. Also, you'll notice that Purple Hands is a theme all the way through this game, whether it be the paintings on the walls or the ones in stage 3 that reach the ground. They like to slow you down, so Purple Hands is very much an annoying cursing thing that you'll see a lot of us runners dealing with. Nicely done, taking care of Gracul with the whip and the axe. Moving on to stage 8, where this is all about rhythm, as a good portion of this level is designed to insta-kill you. We lovingly call this level Stage Hate.
Yeah, that's for good reason.
Yeah, the enemies actually are our friends in this case, as they're going to provide us with those iframes, which allow us to bypass certain things and jump over certain gaps. As I had mentioned before, this game was released in Japan in 1991 and was actually ported over in the same year to United States. With this port, there were a couple of things that were changed, mainly, as I'm bringing it up on this level, the blood that you see pouring from all of the orifices and covering the needles and spikes that are surrounding Simon, those are turned to acid in the Americanized version, as well as a couple of symbols removed from gravestones, and some bodily figures were censored as well in the Americanized version, as some of the creatures were a little bit too scary damage cycle there for a second. As some of the creatures there were a little too much for the Americanized version. But here we're playing the Japanese version, which, by the way, between these two versions, there is no real gameplay difference. There is no lag or sprite issue. These are all textural differences, which do not affect gameplay at all. Now, and thankfully, you survived that damage cycle. Stage hate is scary. It is terrifying. If you get stuck in that damage cycle, it is very easy for you to get stuck in essentially a loop and not be able to get out and have to start the stage over. Just there, you saw the dragon appear for half a second, and we almost touched him, but because we got the rosary, we got rid of him and the one that was supposed to be just after. So that's a good example as the rosary, taking care of some extra enemies without having to be too far off to the side. It's kind of an overlap issue. Now, Tinnue got the cross yet again. Time to build up that combo back up to 3, hitting 10 candles and collecting the hearts necessary so that Frankenstein at the end of the stage is short work. Nice boost from the stairs. And just as we're going to be moving through Frankenstein, the second half of this stage, before we get to Frankenstein, there is a bridge, which is essentially terrifying. Oof! Oh!
Let's see how this goes. Holy shit!
Dagger strats. Okay. So that can happen sometimes when you're trying to build up the cross combo. Unfortunately, if you hit a candle that has a sub-weapon, and you can get boosted into it. But we can always recover using whip-only strats and some interesting dagger throws overlaps using the inputs so that the two things happen at the same time and we don't waste any time with Simon's animation. A little bit of whip canceling every now and again, if you are at that level, can be used as well. But right now, we are facing a little bit of a tight situation. There we go. Frankie's down. Nicely done there, Tin. No worries. There's a lot of backup crosses on 9. It is a beautiful stage, but the first stage, the first part of 9, there isn't too much going on except for some damage boosts. So if we have some donations, now is a fantastic time to read them off.
Brilliant. Yes, we do. We have a $20 donation from Mivu24 who says, had to donate during Tin's Castlevania run, and it's even better when it's for a good cause. Good luck with your run, Tin, and good luck to everyone running in this marathon. We also have a $50 donation from Mythnar, and they say, nice pace. It's always fun to watch Tinnue run this game. Good luck. And that one's being put to the Octopath Traveler single story bid war, and it's going towards Tressa. And a very quick update on that bid war for you all. At the moment, Therion is still in the lead with $132. Tressa is now just behind on $125. Hanit's behind that on $76. And currently nothing for Ophelia, but that run is Tuesday morning in the early hours. There's plenty of time to donate and change that if you want to.
Fantastic. Keep the donations up, everybody. It's for a good cause and great incentives. So let's go ahead and get that going. Now, we're moving through stage 9, which is a beautiful stage. It's the Keep of Gold, where Dracula keeps all of his monies, but we're not interested in that. Simon has no need to stop and fill his pockets up with gold, although I'm questioning why not, as he moves through to the Keep of cash, essentially. Now, lag is a little bit of an issue here with the sprites popping up all over the place as we're moving across the crumbling bridges. And all the skeletons here, they take 2 hits, and they are there to knock Simon into the pit. As we can see here, moving over the dragon, past these coffins that if you touch them, they spawn. We saw them in stage 6 a little bit. They are making a reoccurrence. And we're going to step right on through this dragon so that we don't even slow down. We don't take any extra hits other than the one initial impact, and there's meat right after him, so it's perfectly safe. Now the blocks here, there is indeed a faster way to move through them, but unfortunately it's dangerous, and it's much safer to wait a moment instead of just trying to rush through. You have to use proper crossroads to time everything. It's a very tight window. But now we're going to move through stage 9, moving into the final half of it, essentially, as collecting some extra meat. One little tip for casual runners, I don't know if you knew this, you can go backwards in some locations and recollect the meat as it respawns, so that you have maximum health when dealing with Zap Bats, as the rest of this stage doesn't have anything. No hearts, this scene at least. No hearts and no meat, no anything. It's all cash, it's all money in these candles, except for the scene just before Zap Bats. Yes, indeed, we have baby percent currently going on.
Yeah, she really likes those Castlevania games.
Absolutely. It's a fan. You have the best fan in your corner to do it. Now, Zap Bats, very flashy, requiring 21 hits to break. Now, when Zap Bats breaks apart, depending on how high up Zap Bats is, will determine how much momentum the bats, when they break apart, come down at you have. So what we want to try to do here, as Tinnue has done fantastically, is break the bat as low as possible so that the crosses can overlap with the whip, and we're going to be able to do as much damage as possible, tearing down the bats, and moving on to stage A as the stairs spawn from the ceiling. Stage A is the necessary clock tower stage. Every single Super Castlevania game has had one. You also notice, by the way, the fantastic audio of this game. It is beautifully done. It is so attractive. And this song, I'm pretty sure you will all be able to recognize this remaster, as a lot of tricks are going to be used here, by the way, to shorten this vertical level. There's rings that rotate throughout this entire stage. We're going to see if we can use those to optimize our approach through the game. Let's see. Oh, good boost there. Nicely done. Sometimes that can be a little scary, as the skeletons that we have all nicknamed Richard sometimes get in our way and can knock us back onto these rotating gears. And with the fact that each of these teeth on the gears are actually technically a sprite, can cause you to wiggle one way or another and kind of mess up your inputs. That being said, about the teeth on the gears being sprites, this is where we're going to try to maybe do a little bit of a sprite overload, where if you have too many sprites on the screen, we noticed it before in the rotating room where it would slow the game down, but sometimes if you have too many sprites on the screen, what ends up happening is the game doesn't spawn anymore. We've noticed this before also. Ooh, nice boost across the gear to you take advantage of that and get the early ring. Here's an example of a quick ascent. We're going to be skipping through a good portion of this level. You're going to be taking advantage of where the rings are to pull yourself up through the level and essentially miss having to kill everybody. Let's see. Beautiful. And
Could have went for the full climb this time, but as you've seen, health was quite low, so I had to go for some backup meat this time around.
absolutely. It is better to be safe than sorry in this run, especially since, as I mentioned before, this game is very much unforgiving with its spawn patterns and spawn points. So if you have the time to stop and take the meat, please do so. Now, moving into the final part of the stage of Stage A, where we have the mummy who waits atop the clock tower. The mummy, who... This is a little bit of RNG depending on where he spawns. Oh, unfortunately, that's not a good spawn. We want RNG to be on either the left side or the right side. As Pharaoh Akmodan II, his name is, if we have on the left or the right, we can use the crosses to bounce them off the walls and maximize our damage. If he's in the middle, unfortunately, we can only whip and hope that we don't get knocked into the pit, because down below, that's a no-go. Nicely done on the mummy. Into the final stage, Stage B, where there is indeed the trial that waits before her. It's a boss rush, everybody. We love a boss rush. There is the three bosses, Slagra, Gaibon, and Death himself, just before Dracula, which is essentially Dracula's council. But there's a secret boss that I mentioned at the very beginning of the game, Stairs boss. Now, the stairs have a little bit of an issue. There is a dead pixel in some of the stairs, every fourth pixel, if I'm not mistaken, so 1, 5, 9, 13, etc., where he can actually fall through. We time our jumps and make sure that we have Simon doing proper positioning so that we try our best to avoid that, because after this screen, the stairs fall away, and if we miss the jump on some of these stairs at least, it's into the pit we go, which I'm pretty sure anyone who's played Super Castlevania 4 and a casual run has experienced themselves. Oh, did I mention the whirling disc of death at the bottom of the stage that follows you on the way up? No pressure. We're going to go ahead and move our way up these stairs as they crumble beneath us, and make our way to the Council of Three, where Slogra, the destroyer of dreams and PBs, awaits us as our first trial. Some good. Ooh, whoa. That stair there was a little bit of a hesitation. The jumps are very tight, as you want to optimize when you're letting go of the staircase, but sometimes if you stick to the staircase, your input just doesn't go through, you don't let go of the steps, and you stand there and you do not have much time on these steps. Nicely done, making the way through them and onto the platforms. Just before Slogger, we're going to have some time here on these moving platforms for any donations, if you have any.
Yeah, we have a $20 donation from Evil, who says, Tin, you are the very best. We are very proud of you. Thanks a lot. And thank you for your donation, and thank you everyone for your donations. Please do keep them coming in.
Yeah, thanks everybody for donating.
You guys are all amazing for doing this. Keep it coming, guys. Keep it going. Let's get that chat hype. I want to see some hype in chat. Let's see some emotes. That being said, the platforms here are death spikes, which is always fun. We encountered these in stage 8. We're going to do some properly timed jumps here as we dodge them, causing the game to lag just a little bit so that we don't touch them when we jump later on. Collecting the hearts and doing some proper cross throws for Slogger. Now, Slogger, as you, if you've ever faced Slogger, you notice that there's a bunch of iframes. He has them too. That's unfair. We've had them this whole time. Why does he get them? But now we're going to time some crosses so that when they are overlapping him at the time when he is actually vulnerable again, it counts all 3. And it's very, very, very specific timing. Each one of these cross throws and jumps is timed. Is scripted, essentially, while it looks like it's just back and forth and rhythmic, depending on what pattern he has, as he can also charge if you're on PB pace, which is just usually the case, and ruin your run. Good work on Slogger, though. He played nice this time around. Here we're going to let Gaibons be bygones, as a couple of properly timed crosses shred the health of this flying creature. 1, 2, and 3. Through him, bouncing off the back wall, overlapping the whip. Gaibon is no more. It's a little bit of a headache when you're dealing with him with only the whip, but the crosses are really what do the work here. Now we are moving on to Death itself, the Grim Reaper, as the candles just ahead of him have a little bit of health and a little bit of hearts, but we don't need the health. We're at max health. We didn't even take any damage from the previous guys. Cross bounces off the wall as a timing cross to let us know when we're going to throw the other ones, because Grim comes in and takes those crosses all the way across. Nicely done. Good timing on the initial 6 of throwing. Sometimes when you get him very, very tight, very, very close, he'll die halfway across the screen on the way back, which is insanely good. And now we move on to the final boss, Dracula.
Also, this music. If you played this game as a kid, you finally beat death. You finally been through the whole boss rush, and then you have this corridor with all the candles lighting up in this music. It's just so good. Yeah,
It sets the mood. Every single piece and track in this game really sets you on a roller coaster that tells the story of the game as well, which is a fantastic aspect, narrative and musical. There's also a bunch of remasters that have been done by the community. I encourage you to check them out. But now Dracula, with his teleporting location ability and his head being the only thing that you can hit, good timing crosses and some whip overlaps to do some damage and avoid the fireballs. He has 3 phases, where the first one is the purple fireballs, then he has summon fire elementals, essentially, and then the final phase, where he goes all crazy, like right now, and summons lightning from the sky. In between those phases, there is indeed a meat phase that occurs if you can do the timing right, depending on how much health he has. That kind of helps Simon, but sometimes that orb can be a little bit of a pain, as it does damage you as well. A couple of nicely done. So we're going to have time here in about 10 seconds when once the animation finishes and the orb drops. On the final orb collection, I will announce time. That is a fantastic run. Well done, Tinnue. GG's. Get some hype in chat. Come on, guys. Raise the roof for her.
Time.
And time.
The baby noises, I just can't. Oh god.
Congratulations. Yes, even Baby Tin is indeed celebrating with us. Fantastic job. GG. Well run. And that, everybody, is Super Castlevania 4. Nice run, Tinnue.
Thanks, Ned. Also, thanks for the awesome commentary. A lot of nice facts about the game. I really wanted to show off a few tricks. Normally, the book jump, I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years now. It's totally fine. The zip is a bit of a newer thing I just picked up, but that's really like you have a 5-frame window for the initial jump. And if you miss that, it's a pretty huge time loss. As you've seen in stage 7, that's also one of the biggest spots to die. You lose your cross, you die, you have to build up the cross and everything. So run could have been a bit better, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it. Yeah, that's it from us, I guess.
Yeah, very quickly before we head on out, I want to thank the entirety of the CV4 community, all the mods for the Discord, the leaderboard, and the Castlevania Speedruns wiki. The community is amazing. Please, guys, if you want to try this game, give it a shot. We're almost always running at least one of us, so come and join us. It's fantastic.
Yeah, one of the best communities I've been part of. We have a whole wiki dedicated to the game. Everybody's willing to help and push each other. There's no toxic people, not that I know of. So if you enjoy this game, if you want to run it, join us. We're always happy to welcome new people.
Yeah. Thank you, ESA.
Thank you, Tinnue and Nat, for that incredible run. We had one final donation at the end from Nero Hill, $15, who just says, "Go Tin, go Tin." And shout out as well to Baby Tin for bringing the hype at the end. Thank you for that amazing run, though. We're going to head straight into a break and get our next run ready. Ahmad is going to be with us running Mega Man 11. Don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back.
Good luck, Ahmed, with your run.
Thank you.